News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Gary Papa and Rob Jennings.
Sunday night, they were choosing New Jersey's Man of the Year tonight in Cherry Hill, and Philadelphia's Afro-American Museum is in the spotlight on this, the start of National Black History Month. But the big story in Action News is another big success at the Variety Telethon.
That's it. You can keep it growing. Last year, 1,804,000. This year, 1,810,000. But that's not the end.
Indeed, it wasn't, Monty Hall. For the first time in telethon history, the telephone lines remained open after the telethon was over, and Delaware Valleyans added even more to that amount. The final total won't be known for a few days yet, but you can be sure your pledges will all go to help handicapped children in our area. Lorne Madelon has more now on the most successful variety telethon in history.
Every penny that's raised at the Variety Club Telethon stays right here in the Delaware Valley.
Make your check payable to the Variety Club Telethon.
Just a part of the reason so many of your friends at Channel 6 spend so much time making sure the telethon is picture perfect. And thanks to the efforts of program director Charlie Bradley, who produces this spectacular every year, the telethon was picture perfect. From the music and song on the soundstage with former Miss America Suzette Charles to the pledge desk where Kathy Gandolfo and Lisa Thomas-Laurie spent much of their night and day, from Gary Papa talking with people as they got ready to give at the fishbowl to politicians like Mayor Wilson Good,
I'd like to pledge $5,
and his police commissioner Kevin Tucker manning the telephones, everything went without a hitch. What do those who benefit directly from this extravaganza think about it all?
This is a very important cause, and it's for the children, because it helps for them to get a vacation up at camp, plus goes to the hospitals and all that, and it's very important.
Another youngster named Ted said that he was fascinated by a dove that a magician had brought to the Civic Center. In fact, Ted said this whole event is magic because the money raised does so much for so many people. And believe it, this event means a lot to your friends on the Action News team.
There's so many people in this world who perhaps are not as fortunate. And in some small way, if I could help raise money for Variety Club, that's important to me.
Any parent of healthy children cannot watch any part of this or see any of these children who may need a prosthesis or a wheelchair and not want to do something.
Lisa, we couldn't have said it better. I'm Lorne Madelon, Channel 6 Action News.
If you made a pledge to the Variety Telethon, again, thanks a lot, and send your check to the Variety Charity, care of Continental Bank. The address is on your screen. That's Box 13668, Philadelphia 19101. Variety Charity, care of Continental Bank, Box 13668, Philadelphia 19101. In other news this Sunday, the Civic Center area was the scene of a major water main break this weekend. Water crews worked last night and all day today replacing an 8-inch main that burst along 34th Street and Civic Center Boulevard. The water immediately froze on the streets, causing icy conditions, and police had to seal the area off last night. Water officials say the pipe broke because of cold weather. The water to the Civic Center was cut off completely for a few hours last night and today, but the break has been repaired and the water is running again tonight. The brother and sister-in-law of Philadelphia fashion designer Albert Nippon have been found murdered in Florida this weekend. The bodies of Edward and Sylvia Nippon were found in their condominium in Hallandale, Florida. Both had been shot 4 times. Police are looking for a man and woman who were seen leaving the Nippon's condo early yesterday morning. Edward Nippon headed the New York office of the internationally known design firm until he retired a few years ago, and he more or less ran the company while his brother Albert served 17 months in prison for federal income tax evasion. Hallandale police say nothing was taken from the Nippon's posh apartment and that robbery does not appear to have been the motive for the murders. A Southwest Philadelphia family lost their home to fire this Sunday. It happened just before noon in the 1100 block of South 52nd Street. The family got out unharmed, but 2 Philadelphia firefighters were injured here, and one of them had to be hospitalized. He is suffering from burns and smoke inhalation. The fire ran to 2 alarms and took almost an hour to subdue. The cause hasn't been determined. 15 residents of a Northeast condominium are out of their homes because of flames tonight. Fire hit the Forest Glen condos at Byberry and Audubon Roads around 1 o'clock. This also forced a second alarm and took firefighters about a half hour to control. No injuries here, but 2 apartments were gutted. Several others sustained smoke and water damage, and the cause of this one is also under investigation tonight. But arson has been named as the cause of a fire that destroyed this hair salon in Evesham Township, Burlington County, New Jersey overnight. This shop is located in the Meeting House Square Shopping Center at Church and Green Tree Roads in Marlton. Authorities say they found 2 small unexploded bombs and some gasoline on the floor. They theorized that a pilot light on a water heater ignited the gasoline before the small bombs could go off. So far, no suspects. It was back to work today for hundreds of steel workers at the USX plant in Bucks County. A steady stream of cars passed through the front gates of the Fairless Works in Falls Township, the first day on the job since the bitter labor dispute began exactly 6 months ago today. The return to work follows yesterday's overwhelming ratification of that new 4-year deal with USX.
We had to make some concessions, there's no doubt about that, but I think the vote reflects the feeling of most of the guys. They knew that the industry's in trouble. You're going to have to make some sacrifices. In the long run, I guess, even though it's hard out here in the cold, standing around on picket lines, it was well worth it.
We'll get back together, I guess. That's just like we were before, put it that way. Well, things weren't exactly friendly before this lockout. Not with everybody, no.
For now, work at the plant will consist of maintenance jobs. It could be several weeks yet before all 2,200 employees are called back and the Fairless Works starts making steel again. Meanwhile, some 5,000 Mack truck employees in Allentown are between a rock and a hard place tonight. They've been voting on a new contract agreed to by their local union, but the International United Auto Workers Union says it'll veto the deal even if it is ratified. The UAW says the wage cuts and no strike clause violate its master contract with Mack Trucks. The company says it's going to close this Allentown plant and say goodbye to 5,000 workers in the Lehigh Valley if the contract is not ratified. Governor Bob Casey met with both sides today to try to cut a deal.
People here in this valley who have worked for Mack Truck for their entire work lives. Mack is Allentown. Allentown is Mack. I mean, it's a very broad symbolic kind of situation, and it would be a devastating thing for this area if this matter cannot be worked out.
But Casey says the two sides are still very far apart. People Express Airlines made its last no-frills flight today. The airline that pioneered cut-rate airfares when it took to the skies 6 years ago has ceased to exist, drowning in a sea of red ink brought on by airline deregulation and its own out-of-control growth. People Express has now been swallowed up by Continental Airlines. Already, the familiar purple and white jetliners are being painted. Continental red and gold, and employees have begun turning in their uniforms. But while People Express has expired, the airline is being credited with breathing new life into the once desolate Newark International Airport, now the busiest airport in the New York metropolitan area. For the third weekend in a row, civil rights activists returned to Forsyth County, Georgia, the scene the past 2 weeks of confrontations with the Ku Klux Klan. Today, things were peaceful. About 75 people, mostly black, went to Forsyth to attend Sunday services. The group split up, visiting 8 churches in all without any incidents. Afterward, the Reverend Hosea Williams said all went well.
The vast majority of the people in this county are good Christian people, and we met the good people today.
Only one lone protester showed up, and he quickly drove away. Today's services in Forsyth coincides with the start of National Black History Month, and one of the most extensive collections of black history can be found in Philadelphia. Here's Action News reporter Dwayne Jackson.
Portraits of those who carved the history of blacks in America covered the gallery walls of the Afro-American Museum. Dr. Martin Luther King, the catalyst of the Civil Rights Movement. Thurgood Marshall, the first black Supreme Court Justice, and many others. But where have the efforts of all of these leaders brought us? Some would argue that we haven't come that far from the days when Harriet Tubman led fugitive slaves to freedom via the Underground Railroad. Scenes like this, where blacks clashed with whites in Forsyth County, Georgia last week, support the assertion that at least in some quarters, the civil rights movement has taken a step backwards.
A lot of the strides that had been made during the 60s are being done away with. I don't think it's going to be as easy for blacks to get an education as they have in the past. I don't think that we're going to have access to a lot of jobs. And what really saddens me a lot is, in most instances, I'm still judged solely by the color of my skin.
amazing.
Celeste Stewart says blacks have made great strides in politics and education, but the scales of justice and equality are still tilted.
I think basically people don't judge us by our abilities. You still look at me as a black woman or this person as a black mayor as opposed to a mayor.
While the exhibits here at the Afro-American Museum chronicle the history of black America, those we spoke with view these exhibits with an eye on the future.
Something needs to be done. I don't know exactly what it is. We can't get another Martin Luther King, which he, of course, did a lot to pull us together. But something must happen.
Dwayne Jackson, Channel 6 Action News, Center City.
This is National Freedom Day in America. Philadelphians celebrated with a dinner tonight at the Sheridan Society Hill at 2nd and Dock Streets. National Urban League President John Jacobs was the guest speaker at the 45th anniversary program. The theme of tonight's program was celebrating freedom in the bicentennial year of the Constitution. Freedom Day was created in 1948 by an act of Congress as a day for Americans to rededicate themselves to the ideals of freedom. One symbol of freedom for Americans won't be free anymore. Starting tomorrow, it'll cost $1 to visit the Statue of Liberty. Under legislation approved by Congress, Lady Liberty and 133 other national parks in the country will begin to charge new or additional fees. Included in those national parks is Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, which will soon charge $1 for the Grand Tour only. Still ahead on Action News tonight, the Eagles' Reggie White shines bright in today's football finale, the Pro Bowl, and Stars and Stripes will set sail in a few more minutes, hoping to make it 3 in a row over the Aussies down under. Gary Papa has the America's Cup and more. I'll have more news in the back-to-work AccuWeather forecast next on Action News. Negotiations between Syria, Iran, and Lebanese militia leaders have begun tonight to determine the fate of missing hostage negotiator Terry Waite. The Anglican Church envoy hasn't been heard from in 13 days after disappearing while negotiating with the captors of those hostages in Lebanon. Archbishop of Canterbury, Robert Wunsey, says Waite left strict instructions forbidding any ransom payment or substitution of hostages if he is kidnapped.
It's along the lines of things that he has said to me several times. If it's a letter about having no part in supporting any money being paid or any exchanges being made for him.
Meanwhile, a letter signed by the pro-Iranian Islamic Jihad organization says they will kill 4 hostages taken last week, including 3 Americans, unless Israel frees 400 Arab prisoners this week. Israeli Defense Minister Yitzhak Rabin says that demand is unthinkable. Rabin says Israel will not act as an international bank for terrorists. Voters in the Philippines are going to the polls under a military red alert. Some 25 million Filipinos are eligible to cast their ballot on a U.S.-style constitution. The political future of President Corazon Aquino rests on the outcome of that vote. The Constitution provides for an automatic 6-year term for Aquino. The Philippine military has been placed in the highest state of readiness in case of any violence during the election. Well, the Eagles season's been over for a few weeks, Gary Papa, but Reggie White's season didn't end until today.
Yeah, he played very well today. He must have kept in good shape in the interim. He was terrific. The Minister of Defense had a special sermon today. The Eagles' Reggie White came up the most valuable player in this year's NFL Pro Bowl game. Watch number 92. He's all over the field. He's getting after Elway here. He recorded a Pro Bowl record. That is 4 sacks in all for Reggie White. He was the only Eagle who played in the game. Now, Mike Quick was picked but couldn't play. He got the flu, and Reggie took over and made the most of it. Here comes number 92 again. He went after everybody. Here's sack number 4 on Mr. Elway. He runs him down. After the game, he gets a little bit of a bow as the MVP, the best of the All-Pros. AFC did win the game, 10-6, but Reggie takes the MVP. Okay, Reg. Flyers are off tonight. They're going to play in Toronto tomorrow night. Now, tonight at Madison Square Garden, the Rangers hosted Boston. As we head to some highlights in hockey tonight, it was actually Pierre LaRouche night as he defeated single-handedly the Boston Bruins. First goal right there, then a number 2 on the tip for Pierre LaRouche. In all, the Rangers defeated the Boston Bruins by the score of 5-4. Here comes goal number 3. Skating down the side is LaRouche, and he puts the nice shot after the drop pass. Also, in hockey tonight, Washington won at 6-4 over Winnipeg. Buffalo blasted Detroit 6-1. Hartford 8, Pittsburgh 6. Sixers had the day off. They're going to play in Indiana on Tuesday. Now, right now, Irving, Robinson, and Tony are all out with leg injuries. We'll see on Tuesday if they can play. NBA today, Robert Reed for Houston dials up a three-pointer. A little bit of a fist action there, 27 points in all. Akeem had a key block right there for the Rockets. Houston wins at 106-104. Bill Fitch, not a fan of the chicken, or maybe he's just hungry today. Also in the NBA, Golden State won it after 4 overtimes, 150-147. Detroit defeated Chicago 94-92. Portland 133. Dallas 117. No doubt there's going to be some changes in the end in the top 10 of the college basketball ratings. Number 2, Iowa lost yesterday. Today, number 1, North Carolina lost at Notre Dame. Gary Vos with 15 points. Big basket there. But even a bigger one upcoming by David Rivers, top of the key. And they go wild. Notre Dame has some noise because they pulled off the upset over North Carolina 60-58. Also today, UNLV, perhaps the new number 1 team, blasted Auburn and Rhode Island over Penn State 84-75. And finally, the weekend wrap-up. We got a lot. Auto racing, sailing, hockey, basketball, bowling, and let's make a deal. Here is one way to really wrap up a weekend. It is spending 24 hours driving at Daytona. This is the 24-hour endurance race, and Al Holbert of Warrington, Pennsylvania, will drive his team to victory, averaging 111 miles an hour. It is the second year in a row that Holbert has won this race. Either he's very good at driving or very good at staying awake, or probably both. Now, while Al was driving, Dennis Conner was piling up 2 wins in the wind. The coast of Fremantle, Australia, and Connor's crew features a couple of members from the Delaware Valley. There's John Wright of Philadelphia and Jim Casley, also from Philadelphia. No matter the weather, it was smooth sailing yesterday or rough waters today. This team has beaten Australia in 2 straight races, now leading at 2 races to none in the best-of-7 series. But Connor says, we're not through yet.
We've been ahead in the America's Cup 2-0 before, and we didn't like the way that ended up, so I'm keeping my mouth shut.
He's talking about 1983 when they were up 2-0 but lost the race. Race number 3 is set to start in about a half an hour. Also amazing from Australia are the sailboaters who show off a little bit. Also showing off a couple of guys with an order of double sweet revenge. First of all, the former Flyer, Bob Froese, now with the Rangers, beat his old teammates yesterday at the Spectrum.
You get close to some people and you can't all of a sudden just cut the ties off. I think that's impossible, and that's who I was playing, my old friends.
Then, a few hours later, Moses Malone, the former Sixer, beat his old team with a couple of free throws at the end of the game. On the same day, 2 former Philadelphia players beat their old team. Let's go bowling. It is the final frame for Pete McCordick. He's already hit 11 strikes in a row. He needs 1 more on national television for the $100,000 first prize bonus. We have it! $100,000 for Pete, but Bill Giles of the Phillies needs a little bit more than that to play Let's Make a Deal. He's trying to sign the free agent catcher, Lance Parrish. And today at the telethon, he calls on TV's big dealer, Monty Hall.
Did you sign Lance Parrish yet? Monty wants to know. Ask Monty. If he'll loan me a little money, I can do it.
Let's make a deal. Door number 1, door number 2.
Door number Great stuff. A celebration in Chinatown this Sunday as revelers rang in the Year of the Rabbit. The traditional firecracker parade and lion dance is a lot louder than American New Year's celebrations, but Becky Conroy of Lancaster says she came prepared for the noise.
Yeah, I have earplugs, and my husband got earplugs because he said you probably would need them. And you still need your hands sometimes.
The streets of Chinatown were lined with people celebrating the year of 4685 in the Chinese calendar.
It's a year we get like a family reunion. Everybody come home, you know. Just get together, you know. And wishing welcome to New Year.
I bet he'd like a little some earplugs there. Those born during the Year of the Rabbit are said to be talented, ambitious, and financially lucky. But no matter what year it is, the start of the Chinese New Year will always spark a noisy celebration.
WPVI TV, Philadelphia, serving New Jersey and Delaware.
Tomorrow is the day a group of people will walk up Gobbler's Knob outside of Puxatawney, Pennsylvania, and there they will all wait patiently for a groundhog to come out of his burrow. Legend has it, of course, that if Puxatawney Phil sees his shadow, or if he becomes frightened when he sees all those humans waiting around and goes back inside, we will have 6 more weeks of winter. If not, we are due for an early spring. Now, according to AccuWeather, we will not get any signs of spring this week. It won't be miserably cold, but it won't be spring either. Today's high officially at Philadelphia International was 36 after an overnight low of 25. 34 outside now. Humidity is 74%. Barometer's falling. Southwesterly winds at 4. AccuWeather's exclusive 5-day is calling for cloudy tonight with lows ranging from 30 in the suburbs, 34 in Center City, little light drizzle or wet snow around daybreak and into the morning rush hour. It should be about 34 degrees at 8 a.m. with a little light precipitation. Partial clearing and milder tomorrow afternoon with a high of 42. Some sun, breezy, 42 for Tuesday. Some sun and clouds for Wednesday. Rain or snow on Thursday. And there we go. Some sun and blustery for Friday. Just checking to see if you were watching. The ideal All-American male has been chosen tonight in the Garden State. Some 30 contestants vied for the title of New Jersey U.S. Man of the Year at the Hyatt Regency in Cherry Hill. Contestants were judged on casual and formal wear, as well as personality. At stake was $10,000 in prizes and a chance to compete in the National U.S. Man of the Year in Atlantic City this spring. And the winner just announced is 18-year-old Enrique Urdaneta, a marketing representative from Atlantic City. The $1 Million Movie is next on Channel 6. Tonight, it's Wanted, the Sundance Woman. Action News continues at 6 a.m. then at noon with Chris Wagner, Robin Garrison, and Harry Martin. Now for Gary Papa, the entire Action News team, I'm Rob Jennings. Good night and have a great week.
From Channel 6, this has been Action News, the most watched news program in the Delaware Valley. When you see news happening, call the Action News tip line by dialing News 6. In New Jersey, dial 966-6666 or call our Regional News Bureau.